I deserve what's coming, but wanted to get some things off my chest. This is Luoang because I've never been honest about everything before. I was a smart kid growing up, and lots of adults thought I had a lot of potential. Even in 5th grade and onwards, when I started to struggle with getting homework done, everyone viewed me as smart. I would lie consistently about why I hadn't turned in certain assignments or why my teachers didn't receive them. I went through high school without failing any classes, thankfully, but knew I could have done better. Fast forward to college, and things started off well. Great grades for the first semester. Then, as things went on, things got worse. Grades plummeted. I stopped going to class because I was afraid of how people would view me. Lied to everyone about how I was doing. I flunked out. Fast forward to my first professional job outside of my failed attempt at college. It was at a major organization that I had previously interned with, and I lied about having graduated. Things started off well, but then when it came time to do certain self-paced tasks, I just didn't do them. I kept on telling myself, oh, I can do it later. Only later never came. I eventually got diagnosed with ADHD, but it was too late. My bosses found out I didn't do a major, super important task that I'm supposed to do. I tried lying and making excuses, but I got fired. Fast forward to more recent times. I finished my bachelor's online, which was awesome, got a new job, and even started a master's program. New job and master's program started off great, but you guessed it. Over time in my program, I stopped doing my assignments as I was having such trouble motivating myself to get started. And since I work from home, I kept on telling myself I could do things later and would distract myself by playing video games or literally just staring at my phone, endlessly scrolling. Now, I have 3 incompletes from last semester that I need to finish within 2 weeks or I fail those classes. I haven't even started on those assignments. But the worst part, and what brings me to post, is the situation at work now. Once again, I didn't do a super important task I'm expected to do. Once again, I got caught. And once again, I lied and said I had done it, and that there must have been a computer error. Basically, I was supposed to monitor sales calls, take notes, and submit monitoring forms. While I did do some monitoring, I didn't do any of the forms and didn't take extensive notes. The higher-ups don't believe me. My boss is gutted because she's advocated for me in the past, but I think they're still trying to give me some benefit of the doubt. Now, they want copies of all my notes, which I obviously don't have. This gives me 2 options: lie again and make up some notes and pretend I did everything I was supposed to, or come clean about lying. I know option 2 is the right answer, but when I got fired the first time, my BF was so disappointed. He wants to be with someone capable and driven. I'm not being pessimistic when I say if I lost my job again, he would break up with me. I would have to tell everyone what a failure I am. I might even have to drop out of my master's program because I'm barely making ends meet as it is. All these pressures drove me to seriously consider suicide yesterday. Thankfully, I'm a bit calmer now, and I know I would never want to do that no matter how bad things get. I'm so scared, so ashamed, and so disgusted with myself. I've been telling everyone that I'm okay and just lying. My parents will be so disappointed. Sorry, I know this was long. Hey everyone, this is my first Reddit post ever, but I just need to get something off of my chest. I graduated from high school in 2020 and attended a college that I was not super excited to go to in the middle of COVID. Needless to say, the pairing of already not being super stoked to be a student at this college along with being in a weird mental state because of the state of the world at the time made motivation extremely hard to come by. In my first year, I was academically disqualified from that school. I was put on a program called Open University, which would have given me the opportunity to continue attending school there if I had gone through with it. However, I did little to no research on what that actually meant and just took it as I was kicked out of the school. I kept this information from my parents and my friends and just told them that I was not going to be attending that school anymore because I was not able to find housing for the following year. So the next year I started attending a local community college. And again, needless to say, the combination of attending a school that I was even less stoked to be going to paired with being in the worst year for my mental state in my life made finding motivation hard. I barely signed up for any classes because I did not put any research into what I needed to take, and even then I ended up failing most of them. However, I couldn't let my friends know that I felt like a complete failure, and that summer 2021, I lied to all of my friends and told them that I was going to be transferring to a state university with a good reputation in the fall, and that I would be living with one of my old friends who attended the school. And come fall, 21, when I obviously would not be attending the school with said reputation, I just told my friends that the housing situation with my old friend didn't work out and I would have to be commuting to school. Another lie. Similar story for the 21-22 school year, no research, terrible mental state, only a few classes, and still failed most of them. All while telling my friends that I had good grades and was doing great in life because my ego would not let me admit that I was a fraud and a failure. And since I was still not attending this state school I told everyone that I was at, I had to come up with another lie as to why I was still at home. All I could come up with was that I was going to be living with another friend, which did not work out come fall, 23 either. Creative, I know. Come the 22-23 school year, same situation. No research, terrible mental state, only a few classes, still failed most of them. However, I also began to date this girl that I knew from high school. This girl was a friend of mine that I kept in contact with since we graduated high school, so she was aware of the, we'll call it, unlucky situations that I was in regarding college housing. I knew that in order to have a healthy relationship, I would need to confess all of my lies about my situation to her. Come clean about my lies and tell her that I was a fraud. However, I was scared that she would view me as a failure, and being my first real relationship, that scared me. So I did not tell her, and instead doubled down the lie like I did to all of my close friends and people that care about me. Come summer, 23, I needed yet another lie to explain why I was not going to be attending this state school that I told all of my friends that I was in. So I told everyone that I was taking a gap year to pursue an internship that is associated with my major and desired career path. I knew that this was wrong, but for some reason qualified the lie by telling myself that I would get into the state school that I already told my friends I was attending come fall, 24, so everything would work out okay. Well, here I am, heading into spring, 24, college apps sent in a couple of months ago fall, 23 with a 121 cumulative GPA, no chance of getting into any of the 6 schools that I applied to come fall, 24. And still laying on a bed of lies that my friends and girlfriend believe, because why wouldn't they? On top of this, I had been lying to my parents, saying that my grades were good these past couple of years. How could I tell them that I was basically flushing their money down the drain these past couple of years? I have no chance of transferring to a school next year. I will be on my 4th year of a 2-year college. I really do not know what to do. I've thought about coming clean to my friends and girlfriend. I just can't bring myself to do it. These people mean a lot to me, and I feel like coming clean to everyone would only end with me being alone. That everyone would leave me. And why wouldn't they? They would have no reason to trust me. I've been lying to them for over 3 years now. I'm too scared to tell them what a failure I truly am. Especially my girlfriend, who I really love. I've thought about coming clean to my parents about the fact that I have been wasting their hard-earned money. I do not know what to do. I know the answer is obvious, and I just need to shape up and figure my shit out. And I have started taking those steps into being the person that I have lied about being all of these years. But I don't know how to approach this to my friends or family. Do I quadruple down on the lie? I seriously cannot imagine a situation where I come completely clean about this and still keep my friends and relationship intact. If anyone has any advice, either on this situation or on help with the school transfer process, that would be more than greatly appreciated. TLDR. I'm failing community college and have been lying to everyone in my life about attending a state school and need help trying to find a resolution. Many years ago, I was working a job as an assistant at a private school. There was a little boy there with major behavior problems. Kicking, cussing, being destructive, etc. I was at my wit's end trying to keep the other kids safe and the classroom peaceful. When he got out of control, I used to hold his hand, but he'd yank and fight it like crazy. Eventually, I used a trick my dad had taught me and held his hand by the fleshy part just above the wrist bone. Because it was painful for him when I held him tighter, he stopped pulling. Additionally, I held him by the ear to accomplish the same thing and put my hand on his cheeks to get him to look at me when I was talking. There were 2 other children I was rough with too. I also put my hand on their faces to make them look at me when I was talking. I hate myself for what I did. It was so wrong. He needed help. They all needed a grown-up that was in control. I grew up in a family where being rough was the norm. I thought it was normal at the time, the way I treated him. After all, I would see kids pulled by the ear all the time in cartoons. God, I'm stupid. I still work with kids, and I'm often praised for how patient I am. I feel like I'm the only one who knows I'm a monster. Part of me feels like I should quit and find another profession, that I don't belong anywhere near children. This is my deepest, darkest secret, and I'm incredibly ashamed. I try to tell myself that it wasn't abusive because I didn't leave marks, but I know that's bullshit. Edit for some context. No, I'm not rough with kids anymore. The little boy went to an administrator to share what I was doing. I got a talking to from the principal, and I never did it again. If I have one strength, it's never needing to be told the same thing twice. It seems like I intensified fear in people about leaving their children in childcare. I can say with certainty that I am an aberration. If I was saved by one thing, it's the many talented and compassionate people I've been fortunate enough to work with. I'm sorry to create distrust. That wasn't my intention. You have tools, and open communication is the sharpest. One of the best things about my story is that it was a very brief time between when I started behaving roughly and when I was caught. It seems there's a solid minority of you who don't believe people can change. Right now, I don't know whether I agree or disagree. Part of me feels tainted. That's the part that wants to quit and never look back. The other parts of me, though, they have a lot to give. A few years back, I had a small friend group of 2 other people, and we used to always hang out by this small brook. Now one of these friends was emotionally manipulative and abusive friend. He was homophobic, transphobic, and kinda racist. I was always the butt of the joke because I was the gay, ginger, Jewish short kid with all the health issues. One day, while by the brook, he started to tell me he doesn't believe that I have a mixed family because I look RLE white, and he said Migrandad had schizophrenia because of me. This pissed me off so much, and I punched him as hard as possible, and we fought for about 15 minutes before I just run off. Now he has an older brother who fights all his battles for him, and he set his brother on me, and there was a period of time that I had to be careful what I did and where I went because he was trying to stab me, but it was all sorted out by the school. Or at least I thought, because during that little dispute I joked to my other friend that I would hack his accounts. At the time I did some hacking where I used data breaches in a Python program to let me input an email, and it would show me all associated passwords. This other friend told him that I made that joke. I forgot about that, and about a year later I got a text from an unknown number saying, "Where the fuck are you? Very aggressive." I was walking home at the time, so I was out in the open in these texts. He said it's not fucking funny, and what I'm doing is fraud. Now I had no idea what he was talking about, but it turned out to be the abusive friend's older brother, and he went to the school after beating me up and told them I had commit fraud and identity theft. This made the school investigate me for literal fraud. It was quite traumatic at the time, but nowadays I think it's absolutely hilarious. Hope you find it funny too. Back in November 2006, I was living and working in Madison, Wisconsin, having transferred their due to my gov job. I had reconnected with some of my old friends from when I grew up in that area in the early 90s, and we would get together most weekends for gaming, drinks, laughs, and a good time. We would generally rotate where we would go each weekend, and this particular weekend was my friend Marvin's turn to host. I picked up one friend, Cameron, in Madison, and while driving eastbound on I-94 to pick up another friend, Dave, at this small roadside diner we frequented on our road trips and affectionately referred to as Toskai Station, Cameron and I both noticed a tire, rim and all, begin bouncing towards us from the westbound lanes. It narrowly missed us as well as the car behind us. We looked at each other in relief, not realizing this was a harbinger of things to come. We met Dave at the parking lot of the diner and strike up a conversation about the gaming plans for the weekend. Just as Dave closed his car door, he realized it was locked and he left his keys in the car, along with everything he brought for the weekend. He was forced to call his relatives to come by with the only spare key, and since they lived 45 minutes away, we had no choice but to sit and have something to eat in the diner while we waited. That was the one silver lining, as the diner had legitimately good food, including some amazing homemade pies. Once Dave's folks got there and got the car unlocked, we loaded up my car and we were once again on our merry way. While on the Milwaukee Beltway, Cameron noted that my car felt a tad sluggish while on one of the inclines. I initially dismissed it, as it was a cold November day and my car was an older SUV, which I had from my time in Florida. About 20 minutes later, when we were maybe a quarter mile from reaching the exit to Marvin's house out of nowhere, we all hear a loud noise from the engine and all the instruments on my dash go dead. I somehow managed to make it to the shoulder without causing an accident, and we called a tow truck. While waiting for the tow, we called Marvin to have someone pick us up. Marvin told us that he was seconds away from calling us, because it was then we learned that our other friend Steve, who was coming from the opposite direction, also had a breakdown in the form of a blown transmission, and Marvin was going to ask if we could swing by to pick him up along the way. In my case, the cause of my car trouble was a sheared crankshaft. Turns out, during my last oil change, one of the caps for the oil pan wasn't screwed back on correctly and fell off at some point, causing oil to slowly leak out of my engine over the next couple weeks. Eventually it seized up and tore the crankshaft in two from the resulting force. The car was so old at that point, it would have cost more than the car was worth to fix it, so I ended up having to buy a new car, which I drove for the next 8 years. At any rate, we all made it to Marvin's place safely with no further automotive incidents. We all had a great gaming weekend, which was much needed, returning home safely as well. Even though in recent years we haven't really gotten together that much anymore due to several of us moving away. I moved back to Florida in 2010, some of us getting married, having kids and other things going on in our lives. Every so often, my friends and I still chat online and reminisce about that weekend and the gaming weekends in general, and joke about how unlikely it was that all those car issues happened to us within the span of a few hours. I'm late for school. How I slept through the 200 clocks in the bedroom is beyond me. Why do I have so many clocks? I can't remember anything about the night before, and I'm still dressed. Clearly, I just crashed so hard it took some Huey Lewis and the news to wake me up. That shit is tight. I ran downstairs to find my lazy-ass sister and brother already at the breakfast table. I think they were there. Maybe it was just my mom. It's not clear. One of them said that the pickup truck had been damaged. That fat-ass Biff had smashed it up, and was outside trying to explain how it was somehow my dad's fault. Dad just stood there and took it while Biff wrapped his head as usual. That beat-up pickup truck was the key to Jennifer's fine white ass. I was gonna get me some on a camping trip this weekend, but not now. So off to school. No wait, I think I went to Doc's house. Did I? I think so. Why would I have gone there before school? Nah, maybe later on. So I'm pretty badass on the skateboard, if I say so myself, and hold on to the back of various cars and buses to get to school. After I make it there, I have to break the bad news to Jennifer, and she's really nice about it. So as I'm talking to Jennifer, this asshole teacher, whose name I can't remember, grabs me by the hair or ear. He calls me McFly, so he can take another pop at my dad when he was at this school. It's all a bit humiliating, and Christ, that's my dad. Uncalled for. In the afternoon, I go for auditions for whatever, and who do you think is in the judging panel? Only Huey Lewis from the news. No shit. He played it cool, and nobody else knew who he was. I just went along with it, but what are the odds? I play my heart out, and I'm good. I mean really good. Huey could have used this tune, but it's like he's fucking with me. He's like, no, it's too loud, or something along those lines. I'm so done with the day, but I remember now. Doc called this morning to tell me do come over after school, I think. So I head over to his place. I mean, that's cool, right? Some old dude inviting a teenager over to his house to hang out in his garage. I'm not quite even sure how this relationship started. When I arrive, Doc shows me this time travel machine. I roll with it as you would. He sets fire to this mock-up of the town with a car that has to reach 88 mph to travel in time. He's going to demonstrate it tonight and needs me to tape it. I mean, why not? I'm going to meet up with this old guy at a mall at midnight and video a demo of his time machine. So at the mall now, and it turns out Doc needs plutonium to run the car. Oh, and he got it from some terrorist group. Did I mention he thinks he's going to travel in time? Yeah. My easy lay this weekend is ruined. Huey Lewis dissed my audition, so why not? Let's do this. I get the video camera on the shoulder and hit record as Doc is explaining everything. Except this pickup, with a fitted machine gun and terrorist manning it, shows up and shoots Doc. They almost shot me, but the gun jams. I see a chance and leap into the car, flooring it. I scream across the mall parking lot, and then I'm somewhere else. I have no idea where, but the mall is gone. It's a dusty old road, and some old billboard is in the way. I'm still wearing my radioactive suit. Did I mention I had that on? No? I did. The car is now dead as fuck, so I push it behind the billboard for now. I'm completely lost. No idea what drugs the old man slipped me this time. Maybe the same as last night, but this is the craziest trip yet. I walk about until I find an old farmhouse. I knock on the door. Now I remember, none of that shit about pushing my car behind the billboard happened yet. I actually drove into the farmhouse barn and woke up this farm family. So this crazy old man sees me from a distance. I'm still in the radioactive suit, and he fires a round from his shotgun. I run back into the barn, back into the car, and hit the gas. I blast through that wooden barn door like it's plywood and fly past the old guy and his family. Another shot, but missed yet again. Third time is a charm. Then I did what I said from the paragraph above, but the car really is dead now. Finally, it's daylight, so I take off my suit and go walking toward where I think town is. Sure enough, I find town. It's the same town, but it's been dressed up to look like the 50s, and everyone is playing along. When is this shit going to wear off? Anyway, I forgot about the black mayor candidate, and I bump into him when I walk into a diner. I either meet him first, a day later, or my younger dad next. Dad's getting bullied by a younger Biff, or about to be, so I trip Biff up and piss him off. Next thing I know, he's chasing me around the town center in 50s car while I'm on a makeshift skateboard, don't ask. Biff crashes into a manure truck, and he and his buddies are covered in cow shit. Now I'm really disturbed by how much I remember about this movie. I swear, if I go on, I could pretty much finish it, no problem. I'm gonna have to stop here. I start having trouble with the adding to my story after the last paragraph ends. It all started in 1991, with the parents around the greater Washington, D.C. area were trying to plot against the government they worked for. They were all government agents who specialized in something completely different. No two of our parents knew the same things outside of the basic training given to them by their government agencies. They all started with a patriotic sense of duty, and then one by one received a 180 flip of what they expected in the beginning. Our parents all came from different agencies, as mentioned before, and completely different backgrounds. All our parents were a form of high-ranking officials and veterans. Eventually, more parents came to the neighborhood. All of them were different agencies outside of the US like Interpol and My6, who transferred to an American agency. Each parent lived at around 5 years of hell-like pain on different islands. Each island was different in forms of danger, tasks to survive, and way more. This might not seem important right now, but I'll elaborate on it later on, as I said before. Each parent had to specialize in at least one weapon of their choosing and a pistol. The reason why they had to learn was to survive that island was to adapt to be ruthless and emotionless. They were sent in teams of 34 to each island, and the majority of them either didn't survive the ordeal to stay alive or quit. After surviving the 5 years of pain they had to endure, they all went to graduation. During graduation, they discovered that they all were the best candidates in their classes. When our parents would find out about some horrible government secret, they would write it down and eventually save it in their super basement. There were 3 horrible secrets our parents documented would be put into action by April 21, 2031. The first secret was that the human race will be reduced to the 500 million people as the Georgia Guidestones entail. The second secret was that only the smartest and richest will survive the largest genocide this world has seen. And the third was the way the governments will commit mass genocide by selecting the most popular work of entertainment, which most of the world is killed off. One day, there were several people throughout every government agency and military around our vast world with one singular vision who told everyone in their agency what was to happen. All of our parents were near the people who went mad, and each were encountered by them. They all started the same, "Oh God, what is to come?" Each person who had the vision said what they saw to a varying degree, but they all went a little like this: "Beware, for the end times are near, for the ones above us are to kill just over 90% of the world's population." Upon hearing this, our parents thought that they were crazy, but always believed that there was always a chance that anything could happen. The visionaries then gave out the prophecy of the end of the world. The prophecy went to this extent: "There will be a great sheep wolf of a man who will bring forth peace before a ravenous man that will bring the end of this world." And with them ending their prophecy, they pointed to our parents, telling them that their children, us, will be a part of the plan. With our parents being told that we will be part of the end, the guards started to take the visionaries away. The next day, the US government agencies all had an urgent mission, so they combined a group of their finest agents, which was the way our parents officially met. On the first day, they only worked and went on their merry way. But the second day, a mysterious friend of our parents was able to get one of them to get together outside of work. On that day, they started to become great friends, and it all started with a night out at TGI, Fridays. The only downside of going out with friends as a government worker was that they couldn't drink alcohol unless if it was the holiday season and if they were on a long vacation. Onwards after their second hangout on, their curiosity for getting to know each other and eventually got to share about themselves to one another. Our parents started with where they were from. My dad was from Austin, Texas, and my mom was from Memphis, TN. Katie and Madeline's mom was from Seattle, Washington, and dad was from Miami, Florida. David Deschain's mom was from Oxford, Mississippi, while his dad was from Boston, Massachusetts. Jeffrey's dad from Los Angeles, California, and mom from Chicago. Joshua Kaplan's dad was from New York City, and his dad was from New Orleans, Louisiana. Thomas' mom was from Portland, Oregon, and his dad was from Savannah, Georgia. The Bennett sisters' mom was from Huntsville, Alabama, and dad was from Maui, Hawaii. With Jonathan Vaughn's dad was from Philadelphia, Pa and mom was from Denver, Colorado. When it came to Haley's mom, she was from Charlotte, North Carolina, whereas her dad came from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. As for Derek's dad came from Phoenix, Arizona, and mom from Reno, Nevada. And lastly, Jonah's parents were both from the Midwest, with his dad from Detroit, Michigan, and mom from Wisconsin.